Good evening, everybody. This is Tuesdays with the Oregon Area Progressives. Everything you need to know about the election. Bringing your questions to us to, oh, gotta mute this over here. Everything you need to know about the election. Bringing your questions to us to. Okay, I'm just going to turn that off for the moment. I'm joined this evening by Beth Cox, another member of the Oregon Area Progressives, and also by Candie Jones. Candie is, she told me what she is, and now I can't remember. The administrator something, I can't remember. She'll tell you. I'm a little flustered because my slides aren't moving. So I'm gonna stop my share momentarily so that you can see all of us and let Candie introduce herself while I try to get the slides together in the background, and then I'll go live. Go ahead, Candie.
All right. My name is Candie, and I work for the Village of Oregon, and my official title is the Director of Administrative Services. But I also work in the election department. I think you're muted, Carlene.
You are correct. I am muted, and I still haven't figured out what went wrong with the last thing, but I have figured out how to fix it. Just close it out and start over, right? That's usually the best way for me because fixing things that are broken when they're broken doesn't usually work. So as I was saying, we're not going to be doing most of the talking this evening. Beth and I are. I mean, Candie is. And so we're just going to start with her. Now, Candie, do you have this open on your screen so that you're able to move the slides?
I don't. I don't see it.
Okay, so then I apologize.
That's okay. And if you want to control it, I can just ask you to scroll it too.
Right, so I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
I'm going to, can you see it now on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, there's Candie twice.
All right.
She's on the side.
I'm on twice.
Yes,
yeah.
You are. And she is the Director of Administrative Services and the Deputy Treasurer and Absentee Voting Guru. Yes, I love that title.
Yeah, I love that title. That I'm going to have some business cards made with just that.
I think
absentee.
That everybody should be a guru.
Right. So.
Okay. So I'm going to mute myself and let you do the talking and just tell me when you're ready to move to the next slide.
All right, you can move. All right. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me today and helping us get information out on how to make sure your absentee ballot counts. We have a lot of absentee ballots out here in the village, and anything that we can do to get them back correctly and signed correctly to make sure that we don't have to contact you is great. So we have this slide here is the actual envelope that you as a voter would receive. And if you see the highlights, that's where the required information needs to go in order for your ballot to be counted. If any of that information is missing, it's going to be rejected at the polls, and we don't want that to happen. So we take this and break this down. So on the top section, the voter would verify their information, and right now, all of the ballots that we send out have a label there. So all of the top information in section 1 would be pre-printed on a label. So we just ask voters to make sure that all of that information is correct. And if they do receive it and that is not their current address, they will need to re-register, and we would have to send them a different absentee ballot, because there is a chance that they could be in a different voting ward or something else. So then in section 3 is where you, the voter, would sign, and section 4 is for the witness. So we're going to break it down by the slide. So if you can move on to the next slide. So I'm just going to back up for just a second. So I am a voter and I get my absentee ballot in the mail. I'm going to open it up, and the first thing I'm going to make sure that I have in there is my absentee instructions, and this certificate envelope and my ballot. So I'm going to make sure I have everything, and I'm going to find my witness to go through the voting process, and I'm going to show my witness my unvoted ballot, and I'm going to vote the ballot, and then I'm going to secure my ballot in this envelope after I've verified all this information. And then, if you can go to the next slide, then I'm going to seal my ballot in the envelope. I'm going to sign and date, and then this is required. And then if you just move to the next slide, we might bounce back, and then my witness is going to sign and provide their full address. And I think in the envelopes that I've received back, this is probably the area that gets missed the most. And this is the one that we really need you to concentrate on and get the information that is required. So, and it can be a little confusing, but we do have everything highlighted in hopes that that catches everyone's eye. But as you can see here, Wendy Witness did sign, and she provided the full address, and that full address needs to include the house number, the street name, your city, your state, and your zip. So you want it to be complete. So all of that, like I said, all of that information, the voter signature and the witness signature and witness full address is required for your ballot to count on election day. So our poll workers are reviewing that information when they I should back up. We review it in the clerk's office when we receive it, and we try to catch anything that is missing and contact the voter. And it's also reviewed by the poll workers on election day. So in the office here, we've kind of created a, we try to think of a clever way of making sure all of this information is included on the envelope. So we call it the 344 test. So before you put your ballot in our secure drop box, or you put it back in the mail, the 344, we encourage you to take the 344 test. In the 3, meaning 3, did you sign? Did you as the voter sign in section 3? 4, did your witness sign in section 4? And 4, did your witness provide their full address? So make sure you take that 344 test before you put your ballot back in the mail to be returned, and or in our secure drop box in our parking lot. At the village, we have a drop box that you can drive right up to. I know the town of Oregon has one out on their hand railing to their building. So those are options that all voters in the village can take. One of the things I was asked today was, can a town of Oregon resident drop off their ballot in the village of Oregon drop box? And no, that you need to drop it off in the municipality that you vote in. So all of the town residents need to drop theirs off at the town of Oregon, and that's at 1138 Union Road. And the village of Oregon residents need to drop it off at the 117 Spring Street location if they're going to drop those off. So the other thing that people may want to, like I said, want to consider is, if they're going to use our drop boxes, we're more than happy that you do that. We actually encourage that if you wish to expedite the process. If you are sending it through the mail and you want to see if we receive it, you can visit the MyVote website. It's myvote.wi.gov to track your ballot to actually see when we've received it back. So that gives you a sense of security that we actually received it back in the clerk's office, and you can actually watch that website. So I don't know if I think that kind of wraps me up, but unless you have any other questions you'd like me to go over.
Candie, can I ask a couple of questions?
You sure can.
So I got my ballot from the town and I noticed that the 3 areas, the 344, item number 3, item number 4, 2 places, they were all highlighted.
That's correct.
So is it fair to tell people that the highlighted areas need to be completed?
That is
if
correct.
they forget everything else,
If they forget,
they need to remember that they fill out the yellow areas. Now,
yes.
so on the whole, is it fair to say most people don't have a problem? They get this all right?
That is a fair statement. I would say maybe, I don't even know what I would say. Maybe 1 in 20 get missed. Maybe not even that. I guess that's what I would say though. And it may be as simple as the zip code on the address, but just please make sure that you're double check, triple check, so that you don't have any problems with your ballot on election day.
And is it accurate to say that the people who are dropping their ballots into the Dropbox, you guys are reviewing those, and the people who may have omitted something might get a contact from you folks?
That is a fair statement, but I do want to caution the public to not wait till the last minute to do this, because as we get closer to the election, we get busier and busier, and we don't always have the time allowed to contact you or send your ballot back if the voter forgot to sign. So we're encouraging you to do this as soon as possible. Request your ballot, get it in, we check it. And I also think it's fair to say that every single ballot that comes back, whether it comes back through the secure Dropbox or through the mail, we're looking at them because we have to record them into WisVote. So even the mail items that we're getting back, we're scanning the envelopes to make sure they contain the appropriate information.
I've heard a lot of people, or some people are concerned about their votes not counting for various reasons. I mean, how secure is the system in your opinion? You've been working on this a long time, right?
Yeah. I've been working with elections for quite a few years, actually. They come quicker than you think, you know. I always thought it was funny when I first started working in local government. The clerks would always count their retirement in presidential elections, and I always thought that was funny. So at one time I had it all figured out, but I don't anymore because, you know, I just don't. But I feel that the process is very, very secure in Wisconsin, and allowing the ballots. There's some information out there about by mail ballots, and Wisconsin doesn't do that. We have absentee ballots. We do not have all mail voting in Wisconsin. And the only way to receive an absentee ballot is to request one. And you can either request one through the MyVote website. There's a number of ways to request them through the MyVote website. You can fill out a form to request one, but the request has to be done in writing. So when we get that absentee ballot request here at the clerk's office, we're scanning it to make sure that it meets the requirements. You're registered, you have a photo ID on file, or you've provided one, and then that's when you're sent a ballot. And that ballot has a number on it. So if you would move during that time, which this has actually happened, maybe you had put a request in at the beginning of the year, but now you have moved, that that request now is inactivated. So the ballot, and the whole thought of watching your ballot, or tracking your ballot, I should say, I think is a very secure process. You can see when we've received your request. You can see when we're working on it. You can also see when we mail it. And you can also, there is, on the mailing envelope, there is a barcode on the very bottom that tells you, or that is linked to the state voter registration system in the United States Postal Office when you're anticipated to receive your ballot. So that's newer this year, and I also think that's a great addition for people to have some more sense of security. Like, I should be expecting my ballot on, if it was mailed on the 17th, I should be expecting it on the 20th. So I think it's secure.
So I'm really glad to hear you say that, and I can tell you that this is the first election that I have voted from this address, where I moved from the town of Oregon into the village of Oregon, and it was the first time that I requested that a ballot be mailed to me. Always before, I usually am volunteering around election day, and I'm always afraid that something will happen and I won't get to vote. So I had always gone into the clerk's office in the town and voted early absentee or in-person absentee. So this was my very first go online through myvote.wi.gov, request my ballot, and then follow it through the process. And you better believe, I mean, I was really pretty nervous. And so I knew that September 17th was the time when many clerks around the state would be mailing. I went online. I saw mine had already been mailed. I was like, yes, I'm going to get it soon. And then on the 19th, I got my ballot, turned it right back around. I didn't put it in the mail. Not that I don't trust the Postal Service, because I very much do trust the Postal Service. But we live in the village now. Everything's close. So my husband took his. He was my witness. I was his witness. He took both our ballots and he dropped them into the secure box. And then I checked so he dropped them into the secure box on Tuesday of last week. So 1 week ago. And I checked on my vote on Wednesday, and voila, it said my vote was received. Yes, I knew that I had voted, and I could just breathe this sigh of relief that I was done. And I can't say how much that makes me feel like, okay, now I don't need to think about that anymore. I can only vote once. I did it. It's received. I can breathe easy, and I can focus on other things like the volunteering I'm doing that Beth's going to tell you about. But the other thing that I wanted to say is I was a volunteer in April at the Village Hall, and I saw how incredibly seriously you all took making sure that folks had the opportunity to fix their ballots if they messed up. Because everything was so confused about April. As confusing as we may feel this is, April was chaos, it felt like. And at least to me, and I wasn't you. So I remember people coming, I was the person who was outside, people coming and say, I got a call from the clerk, and she said, I need to come down and fix this or that or the other thing. Now, this is a much bigger election. A lot more people are going to be voting this time. What I hear you saying is that now, when things come in and they have some errors on them, you have the ability to call. But as we get closer, and let's face it, today is a Tuesday, right? So the election, I'm looking at my calendar, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks from today. As we get closer, you're going to have less time to do that. So it's really important that folks follow these steps that you're outlining.
Yes, we need the voters' help to make sure those required pieces of information are in there. Then we don't have to contact anybody because you know that you've done everything correctly.
All right.
Also, if we're recommending that people mail in their ballots no later than October 16th and drop them as soon as possible into the box. But if people are still nervous about it, isn't it true they can, starting October 20th, they can come in and either register and vote or just vote with an absentee ballot between the 20th and the 29th of October. Is that right?
That is actually correct. We are open for what Carlene said, in-person absentee voting, or otherwise known as early voting. And we start that on October 20th. This is the Village of Oregon's hours for this. You'll want to check with your local municipal clerk to see if they have different hours. We're open the 20th through the 23rd. That week, we're going to be open from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then the following week, which is Monday, October 26th through Friday, October 30th, we're going to be open from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And you can in-person vote at that time, and everything is going to be done here at Village Hall. And you can also register to vote up until 5 p.m. on the 30th. So if you're going to do either, we ask that you bring your photo ID to get a ballot. And if you need to register, you need to bring proof of residence. So a lot of times people use their driver's license for both, but if your driver's license does not have your current address on, you would need to provide a utility bill or tax bill or credit card statement, bank statement to prove that residency. But if you're already registered, all you have to do is bring your photo ID. And that photo ID, there is some confusion about that as well. That's what you show on as you were coming on election day. That doesn't need to have your current address on it. That is just when we're looking at your photo ID, we're looking at your name, making sure that it conforms to the poll book. We're looking at your photo, and we're looking at an expiration date. So that's another important key. There's a lot of things to remember. So if anybody has additional questions, feel free to reach out at Village Hall.
And if anybody has questions about anything about voting, the League of Women Voters has a voter assistance hotline you can call. And the number is on our website, but I'm going to tell it to you. It's 608-336-3232. And if you want assistance and want to give OAP people a call, we have a bunch of volunteers who are willing to witness, and if we can, answer a question. Our number is 608-909-1518. And of course, you can always call the village or the town, depending on where you live and where you tend to vote. So, but I want to stress, get this done early. That will make it possible, more possible for the clerks and the village and the town to finish counting those ballots on election night. If they get a whole bunch of ballots late in that day, that's just going to be more difficult. So let's give our clerks a break and try to get those in as early as possible.
That's a great message.
Candie, I'm trying to put these times into the comments. So can you tell me again, in-person early voting hours?
For the village?
Yes.
Yes. So our in-person hours are starting on October 20th. So Tuesday, October 20th through Friday, October 23rd. We're open from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Okay, so October 20th to the 23rd.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
7:30 to 4:30.
7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Yes.
Okay. And then after that,
So then the following week, Monday, October 26th
yep.
through Friday, October 30th,
Mm-hmm.
we're open 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Wow, you guys are being incredibly accommodating, and I just need to take my hat off to you that you're doing that, because I know it's longer hours and it's a lot of work, and can't say how much I appreciate that,
Me
because
too.
I really appreciate you making it possible for as many people to vote as possible. So
That is our goal. Anybody that wants to vote gets the chance to vote.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
Any last words before we do partisan stuff that I know that you can't be part of?
Yeah. Happy voting.
Thank you so much for being our guest, and Beth and I will clap for you. We're getting really nice comments online, so just so you know that we really appreciate all that you're doing, and we'll do everything that we can. And just so everybody knows, we want everybody to vote, and you don't have to agree with Beth and me to vote. We want people to vote, period. So thanks, Candie. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Have a good night. All
You
right.
too. Bye. So I'm gonna forward the slide to our more partisan work. So Beth, you want to talk about this slide?
Well, we've got actually a
Oh, so
mix.
sorry. So sorry. My
That's all
fault.
right. We've got a mix of partisan and nonpartisan things. I'm going to run through them. The thing that most people don't like to do is actually the most important thing that we do, and that's calling voters. So we are calling voters, and these are people who have received or who have requested an absentee ballot. We're asking them, did you receive it? Do you have any questions about it? Do you need any help? If they need help, we have people who will help them. If they don't need help, then we move on to the next call. It's called ballot chasing. We want to identify people who need help and don't know what to do. I was speaking with someone last Sunday who hadn't gotten his absentee ballot. He wasn't sure what to do, and I was able to walk him through and figure out where he was at with that. So you will, if you do this, if you volunteer to assist us, there'll be training, and you'll be part of a large group of people who are contacting voters. We're also sending out partisan messaging through various social media. So we're right now picking out themes, programs that the Biden campaign is supporting, and we're letting people know about that. We're doing the same thing with the letters to the editor campaign. If you like to write and want to send some letters around various parts of the state, not just Oregon, then join us, and we'll facilitate your doing that.
Oh, I just want to say one thing about that. Rick just got a letter. My husband just got a letter that was published up in a newspaper near Eau Claire about that was about some of the comments that the president made regarding veterans, and his father was a veteran of World War II, and he had some really strong feelings about that. So these letters get out to other communities, and I think they're a very worthwhile thing.
And it's also a good opportunity, you know, if you're stressed and worried, it's really, writing is a good opportunity to get some of that energy into something positive, and having a little microphone isn't a bad thing. So we've got topics. If you don't have topics, we have people that will help you compose it if you want, and we will take care of sending it out for you. So That is letters to the editor. So assisting voters, we've got a group of people who, when we identify them through our phone calling, maybe they live alone, they need a witness. We have people who are willing to do that. We have people who are willing to drive people to the polls if they can't get there. Whatever that voter needs, we're going to help them. If we can't provide the information or the task, then we will refer them to the people who can. Working at the polls, right now we know Madison needs poll workers. Oregon may need poll workers. So if you're interested in working at the poll as a poll worker, and you will get paid for this, you're going to contact OAP. I'll give you that number later. And we will put your name either through to Madison or keep you as a reserve for backup for the village or the town, should they decide at the last minute that somebody called in sick, or the number of poll workers they thought they were going to have, they don't have enough. So if you want to work at the polls, and of course that's nonpartisan. I worked at the polls for many years and I enjoyed it. It's a good group of people, and you have shifts, so you're not working all day. If you don't work at the polls on election day, you can assist poll workers, people like Candie in the village and Jennifer in the town, assist poll workers before the election and on election day. So Carlene was one of these people, and she stood outside in the April election and she directed people where to go. She showed people where to drop their ballots, and she was a general sort of
Witnessed
person.
a lot of ballots.
What?
I witnessed a lot of ballots that day.
Okay. So in the township, what we already did was take about, 1,800 ballot envelopes and correct something that had changed for the clerk. So that was one less job they had to do. So that's what we're doing. And if you want to do that, that's nonpartisan. Anything with the polls is nonpartisan. So if you want to do that, that's great. Distributing signs. We just got a new sign order in, and our goal is to blanket the area. And so if you want a sign or you want to help distribute signs, you should contact us. So if you want to volunteer for any of these activities, I'm going to give you the OAP phone number, which is 608-608-909-1518. And
that's also in the chat.
And that's good. That's in the chat, and that's also on our website. And I will likely be the person getting back to you. So I get that notice that somebody's called and left a message, and I will get back to you. So let me urge you, I think I've said this so many times, I find myself getting anxious and stressed. What always helps me, no matter how much I hate making phone calls, if I pick up the phone and start calling voters, my mood improves. If I do something, if I write a letter to the editor, if I send something over to our techie person to tweet out from OAP, I feel better. It lowers my tension. Whatever else you do to lower your tension, I think in this election, any opportunity to help and any opportunity to reduce your stress is just a good thing. And we're here to help you. So give us a call. You can also message us, any of us, on Facebook, and you can go to our Facebook page and message us there, or individually. I think you know who we are. And so that's what we're doing. And we have a lot of people. This was the year that we had about 40 some odd people who volunteered in August.
Yep.
We usually don't get people volunteering until after a good time after Labor Day and into October.
Yep.
So people are motivated. You'll be part of a group, and we hope you help out.
And we'll celebrate together.
And
I can't say enough to reinforce what Beth says about being proactive is the best way to stave off anxiety. I think There are so many things that are causing us anxiety right now. The election is just one of them. We already knew coming into 2020 that this was going to be the election of our lifetime. And we've seen so many things happen. I do think it's worth acknowledging some of the things that are happening nationally with the hearing, the possibility of replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who I know I hold up as an icon and a hero, and some of the misinformation that's being put out, not just some, a lot of misinformation that's being put out about the security of our elections, and on. The list is long. And the most affirming thing, the most anxiety reducing thing that I know is to work in camaraderie and in collaboration and in tandem with other people who are feeling a lot of those same things, but who are determined to make sure that every vote is counted and every voice is heard. And you know, the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. There are all kinds of things that people have said about situations like this. One of my favorites is one that that someone sent to me just recently in a card that says, once we realize that every single thing we do makes a difference, we learn to pay impeccable attention. I think it's important to pay attention and to realize that everything we do has an impact. And so we can and should, I would say, do what we can. And so before we move on to the last slide, I just need to pay homage to my dad, who is no longer with us. And quite frankly, I don't think that he would be very happy right now. When I was a kid, he was a minister, and there was a young man in our confirmation class, and he was a Methodist minister, who said to my dad, "Preacher Brown, what does it matter what I do? Because I can always get forgiveness." Now, I don't necessarily ascribe to this, but the thing that I do ascribe to is something that really motivates me all the time. And that is that my dad said to him, it's not what you do, because you can ask for forgiveness. It's what you don't do that you could have done, that you chose not to do. And for me, that's always a motivation. I know I make a difference. I choose to make a difference. And every one of us can choose to make a difference too. So I hope that you will choose to make a difference in any of these ways, and talking to your friends and not shying away from having tough conversations, because this is a tough election. It's a very divisive time in our country. Ask people to wear a mask, hug the people you love, stay safe, and watch the debates.
I want to add that's great. And I want to add one thing about the election. This country has been voting absentee and by mail since the Civil War. We voted through the Civil War. We voted through the 1918 pandemic. We voted through Vietnam. So we're used to voting. We're being targeted in a campaign, a cynical campaign, to undermine your faith in the vote. But let me tell you this, if our votes weren't so important, they wouldn't be trying to stop us from voting. So before you get anxious and depressed, remember that. And remember, the one thing you can do that's going to make a difference is getting that ballot in, getting it in early, and then helping somebody else out if you can. You're muted.
Thanks so much for joining me tonight, Beth. And we're grateful that Candie was on with us to make sure that we know exactly how the ballot should be, or the envelope for the ballot should be filled out. Hope everybody has a really good week. The debates air this evening at 8 p.m. Central. on almost every channel everywhere or live streamed. We hope that you'll tune in for those. And if you want to know more about each of the candidates, another way to do that is to watch PBS Frontline, The Choice. Pretty amazing. The choice is stark and it's clear. Bo Biden.
Good night.
Good night.